Oh, there we are. Hey, everybody, welcome. We are up and running. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties as we got this started. Give me 1 second to get that PowerPoint up and loaded, and we will be ready to go. Dr. Delphine, if you want to just introduce, that would be great. All right.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about the 4 A's. And a lot of you in the office have heard us saying the 4 A's, but what does it really mean, the 4 A's? So the 4 A's is autism, asthma, allergy, and ADHD. And today I just want also to let you know that this is so complex, and there is we can go in depth for hours when we talk about this. So hopefully today that would be a good introduction, and maybe for some of you, some parents that are dealing with this with your children or with yourself even, that has one of those or has 2 of them or 3 or 4 even. It can give you maybe some hope that there is something else that you can be doing. It's just not common Western medicine to be addressing allergy, asthma, ADHD, and autism more from the inside out. Because these days what we see, it's more of if there is a rash, for instance, or if there is ADHD, it's more treated with something to mask the symptom or suppress the symptoms, versus really finding the root of the problem and working from an inside out. And it is coming from an inside out. So I will give you some resources at the end that you can look into. And hopefully there'll be a new path for you and some doors that will open to be able to reverse that and really better your lifestyle too. Dr. Nick?
Yeah, I think we're just working on the internet right now, so we should be up and running. If there are breaks, bear with us. This is probably one of the most important topics we will talk about in our New You workshop. The 4 A's, pediatrics, pregnancy, are all related. It's one of our passions. It's something we've done extensive research on. Something called the ICPA, International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. If you'd like to get more information on that, go to their website. Let me put that up for you right here, ICPA4kids.org. We've done hundreds of hours of extra study there to be able to specialize with pediatrics, with kids, with pregnancy, because it is becoming a problem. And thousands of hours by now? Sure.
Yes.
So this is the 4th series. This is the 4th series of our New Year, New You workshop. So we did our intro, which was the vision casting and mindset. We did what's your plan, goal setting, SMART goals, SMART. You can go back and rewatch any of those if you'd like to catch up. Eat great to look great, nutrition, clean up, clean out was just this last Tuesday. Detoxing the body, heavy metals, pesticides, plastics, chemicals in the body. And then this is our 4 A's, allergies, asthma, autism, ADHD, plus pediatrics and pregnancy. And then on Tuesday, we'll wrap everything up with movement is life, exercise, and how to really put us all together and make a change in you and your family's life. So Dr. Delphine, I believe you already introduced.
Yes.
Let's see, is this catching up? There we go.
Yes. So like I was saying, I already introduced the 4 A's for. Yeah, I see you. So the 4 A's with allergy, autism, ADHD, and asthma. And a lot of you have heard of this, and maybe you're dealing with this or your children are dealing with this as well. And it's very common for people to know somebody that has one of them or has more than one. Can you go to the next slide, Dr. Nick?
Right. Yeah, it's just lagging a little bit, Dr. Delphine. We're just waiting for the internet to catch up here. This doesn't happen the whole time. All right. So I put this in here right in the beginning because a lot of people may say, well, why should I get my kids adjusted? Or why should I get adjusted? Or why should I see a chiropractor? Does my insurance cover it? You know, a lot of questions, especially around pediatrics and pregnancy. Well, this is the Medicare guidelines, which is what rules all other insurance guidelines. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, Aetna, Ashen, Cigna, following the Medicare guidelines. So it says care that seeks to prevent disease considered medically necessary. So what that means is that anything you're doing to try to be healthy is technically not covered under your insurance. So that means when it's an emergency, which I think most of us know doesn't lead to anything great in the future. It's not proactive, it's all reactive. So, should your kids get checked before they have a headache? 100%. Should they get checked before they have constipation? 100%. Should they get checked before whatever happens when they're 30 years old? Yes. Should they be checked just like you brush your teeth every day? 100%. Because we want to prevent disease, we want to promote health, and we want to prolong and enhance the quality of life. That's what our goals are for a family going forward. Go ahead, Dr. Delphine.
Well, I'm glad you talked about this, because I'm definitely going to go a little deeper later, like how is chiropractic playing a part in the 4As, in autism, ADHD, and allergy and asthma. And I just wanted to go over, like, it's kind of like I put it in the form of a bullet point, but it's a story that is something that I hear very commonly weekly from patients. And how is that story going to affect a child's development? And also, how is that story could be changed, or how that child development could be changed if it was going differently? So, sorry about that. So I'm sure we've all heard that story of a baby. A mom is pregnant, and then ultrasound is done, and then the baby is too big, or the mom is past her due date. So now we have to induce her. And or also it could be the result of a labor that it's too long, and then we have to increase and make it faster. Or the mom is past her due date. So there is some sort of induction, and then there is a hard labor. And then because the baby's heartbeat is decreasing, so we have to do an emergency C-section. Then after that, the baby is not thriving, is not nursing properly. And so then we put the baby on medication because the baby starts spitting up more, or the baby also is not latching properly. So mom stops breastfeeding and start giving more formula. And then time goes on, we realize that suddenly the baby, or not suddenly, it's over time, but now baby is 3 months old and there is a flatter spot on the head. Baby has what we call a torticollis. And so we have to put a helmet on. And then we have the helmet, baby's development slow down because their brain can't process too many things at once. So between holding the head straight versus sitting or crawling, the brain naturally is going to pick, I'm holding the head straight. Then baby starts teething. So we fast forward, baby starts teething. And there's a lot, baby is very mucousy, baby's always had a runny nose, baby always has some sort of a cough. And then baby gets an ear infection and another one. So we give an antibiotic. And then maybe one day baby was also having a runny nose, but no big deal because he always has a runny nose. So nothing different. And then there is some sort of a toxic harm that is due to the brain and to the body, because that's what the schedule says. At 2 months and at 6 months, you have to have some sort of a toxic harm that is done to the baby at this point for their immune system to prevent some diseases. And again, there is more fever, and the baby always has a runny nose. The baby is crying.
I believe.
What'd you say?
Having a rough time this morning. So give us a second here for this to kick back on. But I was just gonna, these two folders right here are just peer-reviewed research articles on pediatric and chiropractic and prenatal care. These three right here are some of my favorites. This is on ear infections. These are peer-reviewed research articles. Ear infections, children with bedwetting, breast milk, how the breast milk changes. It says research from 2013 explained that the composition of breast milk varies by feeding over lactation and by each individual day. Like, our bodies are pretty freaking amazing. We don't need a whole lot of intervention. We just got to trust ourselves. And here, I mean, research upon research of, you know, how that works. You back with us, Dr. Delphine?
Yeah, I didn't know I was gone. All right. So you see me now? Okay,
Yep.
so back to my story.
We'll just keep rocking through this.
Yes, and then otherwise we'll do it again. So then fast forward, right? We keep going forward into that child's life. Then baby doesn't like tummy time, always cries when baby is on tummy time. And then baby is also spitting up. And then we're also noticing that suddenly baby might be pooping once a week or once every 10 days even, we've heard. And then keep going forward into that life. Babies start having some sort of eczema and skin rash, and then babies start eating solid, and now baby is very sensitive to gluten or to dairy and has eczema and has a rash. So a lot of time we have tendency to blame it on the genetic because there's no other resources and reasons that are offered to parents. And because we have it, we think that our kids are going to have it also. So those are common stories that we hear from parents. And I'm going to show you also, as we were talking and going through those slides, how really from the beginning, how that route and that story could have been completely different. But also my biggest point is that there is a solution. It's not easy to reverse, but there is solutions. It's not just take this and that will get fixed. No, it's not. When you're working on the cause of the problem and finding the cause of the problem and working from an inside out, it takes work. It does take work. Do you want to do the next slide, Dr. Nick?
Sure. The last thing, one of my biggest pet peeves is that first one there. The baby was too big. I mean, come on. Just this is where we got to get our head out of the books and just use a little common sense. Like, does somebody honestly think your body would create a baby that was too big for the woman to have a baby with? I mean, just literal common sense. That it doesn't even make sense. Your body's never going to hurt you. It's only trying to protect you. So you're never going to have a baby that's too big. And if somebody tells you that, it's just silly. Sorry.
So there is a new epidemic now. It is not measles, mumps, and rubella or diphtheria or polio anymore. It is asthma, allergy, autism, and ADHD. And it is just a fact. And it's not a belief, it is just a fact because there's a research that it's there. And there is not a coincidence also that asthma, allergy, ADHD, and autism are all on the rise. And in 2021 now, this is really sad that we're not using our science properly and the technology that we have. And this is, the kids are just getting sicker. Really, our kids are just getting sicker because 1 out of 3 of all American children have one of those. Do you want to go to the next slide, Dr. Nick?
1 out of every 3 kids. So 1 out of every 3 kids. We have 4 children, none who have any of autism, allergies, asthma, ADHD. Coincidentally, they all got adjusted from within an hour being born. But also, if we have 4 kids and none of them have that, that means some families have multiple children, right, that are suffering from autism, asthma, allergies, and ADHD. Just, I mean, think about how that just continues to spread. It's very sad. It should be like, go ahead, just start talking, Dr. Delphine.
Okay. So when we talk about, and I had to write my notes here because there's so much information as I was getting ready for this and try to condense it in 10 minutes. Oh, perfect. try to condense it in just 10 minutes, because that is something they're very passionate about, because we do see kids with autism, with allergy, with asthma, ADHD. And then why are they going to chiropractor? Why are they coming out? That's why we have this huge carrot kid tree now that is expanding. And those kids are coming not because they have a neck pain, not because they have a low back pain, but a lot of time because they have one of those 4As or three of them, or the four of them, and we're seeing changes. So that's why it's really dear to us to reach out to parents and let them know there is options. You're just not gonna hear it from your conventional Western medicine field, because this is not something they're being trained on. So those four of them, they're all related, and it's all related and caused by some sort of inflammation. And the inflammation, the allergies will trigger ADHD symptoms, and it's all due to some sort of a brain toxicity. So when you have kids that have ADHD, or don't want to sit down, or have a lot of questions, or very fast, it's not that they don't behave properly. It is due to a physical harm to their brain, and they have a harder time processing the world, processing the information, which is where you're going to see kids that are autistic and that have repetitive motion, or they're going to keep repeating certain words or a certain sound, or they're going to flap their hands like this, because their little mind is so chaotic. By doing something rhythmic, it's actually bringing some sort of a calm and order into their own chaos. And then, so if they have any sorts of allergies or any sorts of sensitivities, if their immune system is always challenged because it's always fighting for something, their immune system is always trying to heal itself, the body is always trying to heal itself, it's causing a lot of inflammation. And some of those allergies also will create inflammation, but it's also going to create a flare-up in some sort of other symptoms for ADHD, for instance. So like you see, for instance, I hear a lot of parents saying, like, for breakfast in the morning, if their kids have waffles and pancakes and syrup, because the sugar creates inflammation, they are going to have more symptoms of ADHD. They're going to have more symptoms of allergies, right? So sugar decreases your immune system. It feeds bacteria, if it's viruses. So it will cause those allergies to be flared up. It will also create those symptoms or behavior from ADHD or autism to flare up and be intensified. You still hear me, Dr. Nick? All right, I'll just keep going. So, so some severe ADHD symptoms can also cause some autism as well, some autism symptoms. Vitamin deficiency and toxic food are sources that, and different toxic foods. So that would be, for instance, eating deli meat all the time, or eating hot dogs, or processed food and non-organic. So all those foods are rich in toxins, will create a lot of toxicity. So toxicity in the brain also will cause toxic guts. So for instance, babies that, or kids that don't have regular bowel movements, that means they don't eliminate those toxins frequently, which means their guts are toxic. And now we know that your guts are your second brain. Your guts are your second brain. So it's affecting how the brain is also developing with children. So again, it's not an emotional problem, but it was a physical harm that was done to the brain, and it's causing a neurological disorder. So autism, allergy, ADHDs, those are neurological disorders. And asthma and allergy, again, can be triggered by any toxicity that can be done to their body, and then how their brain is processing it. Do you want to go to the next slide for me, please?
Something about, yes. I heard you say something about like diet in there, which is huge. We talked about nutrition last week. Listen, we don't have to be perfect all the time. You know, if you feed your kids waffles and pancakes and stuff like that in the morning, you know, God bless you. Our kids like pancakes as well. We do take measures to try to make them healthier sometimes. An example, 1 banana and 2 eggs mixed together will make 2 pancakes. Really good and much healthier than, you know, the traditional pancake. But just, you know, if maybe you're doing some of that too much, or you can do a little bit better than what you were doing before. Just throwing it out there, because it's not always, you can't always be perfect, but we just want to see if we can make a change.
Right. So In the 4A's, there is always signs of inflammation. And those signs of inflammation can start as when they were infants. So red ears, so frequent ear infections, which shows again, right, if they're more mucousy, they're not draining properly that extra mucus. If they are more sensitive or allergic to dairy, their body's not processing it properly. A red bottom, it's not just because of a diaper rash. Most of the time that comes from the inside. It's not because you left the diaper on too long. But again, I'm going back to like the baby stage because it does affect how they're going to be when they're 5, 7, 10, and as teenagers, if we don't do anything about it. And doing something about it is not just putting steroid cream on it and it looks better and it looks like it's gone. No, it's really fixing it from the inside. So red ears, red bottoms. So when they have a diaper rash, when they have eczema, I always hear, Mom, well, what cream can I put on? The cream is putting a band-aid over it. It's coming from the inside, and most of the time it's coming from their guts, from their flora. And if it is a baby that was born via C-section, and I'm not against it. Obviously, there is a time and a place for it. But when it's something that is scheduled for convenience, then that is something different. That's a bigger problem. There's other issues there. But again, when they don't go through the birth process, C-section, it is traumatic because they don't go through the birth process. Their head doesn't go through the vaginal canal. Their brain doesn't get that jump start from the get-go. They don't get exposed to the vaginal flora for their guts, which you can never replace. It doesn't matter how much probiotics you're giving them. It's really hard to replace that natural bacteria that they would have been exposed to and swallow as they're going through the birth canal. And the mom is not dirty. So we need also to come back to like, our body is not dirty. Our baby is made to have babies, and it's made to have birth vaginally because it does affect their health for the rest of their life. So allergies also. So you see kids that are really allergic to dairy where they completely throw up if you give them any dairy or cow's milk formula. And then, or also if they have any palate sensitivity. So like sweets and pasta and sugar, when they are craving that sugar. I was just talking about this yesterday with a mom where that child was begging to go to McDonald's. Again, right? It was just, and the mom has been working on his diet, and now his body is just wants it because there's something deep inside in his gut, candida or anything else, that is causing an inflammation, and the body wants it so it can feed itself, and that's what then you want it so bad. Dr. Nate, can you go to the next slide for me, please?
Yeah, we lost the slides for a second. You just got to keep going, babe.
This is fun today. It's challenging. All right, so the next slide, when it comes up, we don't need to wait for it. Why is chiropractic related to this? So remember that story I told you before with that baby that was maybe stuck in the birth canal, maybe had to be used forceps and a vacuum to be born, or had to have an emergency C-section. So now you have a baby that goes into a birth canal and has to be pulled out, which there is a lot of force and tractions that happen into the pelvis. If there is any shoulder dystocia, that means baby was coming and the shoulder got stuck into the mom's pelvis. So there's a lot of pulling that is going to the neck. All of this can create a lot of cervical damage. Okay. And then if you remember that story again, right? That baby is fussy, the baby is colicky, is not nursing properly, is got a torticollis, and we got to get a helmet, right? So we're going back to that story there. That can be changed when a baby is getting adjusted from the minute they're born. And we see it all the time. And again, if you don't have a chiropractor in your birth team, nobody is really looking at how the nervous system is functioning when they're born, because we're really worried about their heart. We're really worried about their reflexes and their lungs to make sure it's clear. But what's going to cause them to be able to cough out that extra amniotic fluid? What's going to cause them to be more alert and take that deep breath is their brain and it's their nervous system. And if there is trauma to the spinal cord and there is trauma to the neck, it is going to affect how they're going to adapt now on the outside world. So, and here I had to write it down. So now next So you're going to see chiropractic and development. But the first slide, good thing I have my little notes with me. How you birth and the length of the labor already is related to the spinal trauma and the infant. And it was Dr. Gutmann, a German physician, that studied 1,000 newborns, and he found that 89% of them have a cervical spine trauma. So, and then 99% of them had a one joint in the upper cervical here that was stuck and not moving. So that is pretty that is a very important part of your spinal column here in your nervous system, because it's right underneath your brain. It's right where your brainstem is, which is what controls your breathing. Okay. Which also, when that bone is shifted or gets out of alignment, it will cause a baby to just look more one way compared to the other. So they're always going to favor a side when they're nursing, but they're always going to look more one side. This is how then they develop a flat spot back there. Okay, which then we put a helmet on, but the helmet again is more cosmetic. It is not fixing the cause of the problem here. It's just been left on so long, and 3 months is a long time, which then it's affecting their development. The other thing that it shows is like 85% of temporal bone misalignment also, so they're not moving properly. The temporal bones are right here. So when babies are sucking all the time here, it's affecting their cranial bone. That's why we do a lot of cranial sacral work, because your brain is attached to those bones of your skull here. You have many of them. So when they're born, it molds and it squeezes the brain, which jump starts the nervous system and how they're going to respond and how they're going to breathe. So if there is any of those bones that are not moving properly, like you can feel the baby's features, you can see they have a cone head, and then it kind of goes back down as they adapt to the outside world, and it's not as inflamed anymore. But you can still feel ridges. That means those bones are stuck like this, which is causing a lot of tension in the meningeal underneath it. Okay, those are a lot of fancy words, but it is, again, it's affecting their development, and it's affecting how they're going to adapt to the world and how they're going to respond. Tonic neck reflex, right? Oh, there we go. We're on. So the tonic neck reflex and for crawling. So babies that don't like tummy time, they are telling you that something is not moving properly. It's like, oh, no big deal. We don't do tummy time. It's not important. And just sleep on your back, be on your back all the time. And then we got a posterior flat head. Well, that is important because that's how they develop their vocal cords. So it's affecting their speech. It also develop the strength of their upper body, which is affecting their crawling, but also later on, it's affecting their writing. It's affecting their reading. If they're not crawling, they're not doing that crisscross pattern that they have to do between the right side of their brain, the left side of their body, which are affecting coordination and how they're going to play sports. I mean, but also how they're going to be as children and then as adults. How are you doing?
Right, if you're out there and could let us know. I don't know, hon. It does not look like the internet's holding up very steadily.
Okay.
So just, you hear me?
I just keep on going. That's why I have it printed.
All right.
Okay, so like I was saying, children and ear infection as well. So ear infection a lot of time also will be triggered by any allergies that they're gonna have. So if they're allergic to gluten, or if they are allergic to dairy, it's gonna cause them to be more mucousy. But if there is any misalignment in their spine, they can't drain it properly. They also, if that upper cervical, like we talked about earlier from birth, if it's misaligned, if it is shifted, is going to cause a lot of pressure in the nervous system. And those major nerves here are going to glands that control your immune system. So now we want them to have a very high functioning immune system. So they're not sensitive to dairy, not sensitive to gluten, but they are speeding up, which is also a sign of upper cervical misalignment, because those nerves here, it's like seaweed. It goes down and it controls your stomach, controls your heart, controls major glands for your immune system. But now this is compromised because it's shifted. So their immune system is not functioning the best it could be. Their body is not healing 100%. But what are we doing instead? We just give them antibiotics and get over it, but we're not finding the cause of the problem. Why some kids get more infection and some don't get ear infections at all. Okay. So here again, regarding colic and spinal misalignment, but children with ear infection. So they did a study, and 332 kids were studied for 27 days, and the children had 80% to no more ear infection within 6 months of chiropractic care. Okay. So inflammation and immune system and how they process and respond to the world, it's all connected with that. It goes back to allergies and asthma, to ADHD and autism. It's all connected. It all comes together. Okay, can you go to the next slide, Dr. Nick?
I'll try.
So the next slide, again, right, I'm trying to keep, okay, I'll keep on going. So the next slide would have been about kids supplements. Okay. So now that we kind of did an introduction again, that is not nearly as in depth as I would love to like talk about it. Maybe you can tell this is something we're really passionate about. And it's like just the tip of the iceberg that we're doing today, but at least starting with this, right? When there is any brain toxicity, when there is any immune system that is challenged, the working from the inside out, besides getting them adjusted the minute they're born to make sure the nervous system is functioning 100%, their body is healing 100%, and there is no interference, then what you can do to support it is number one, I would say for kids supplements is vitamin D3, the fish oil for the immune system. Vitamin fish oil is extremely important. All the research are showing for kids that have Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, fish oil is key. We love dirt water, which is great for their guts. Again, right, your second brain. So dirt water, it is dirt water. So don't go in your backyard now and have your kids drink that water, although I don't think it'll be that bad. But it is water that helps their gut flora. And then probiotics, again, for their guts, vitamin C for their immune system, and then bioreline. So bioreline, that's something we've been using more and more. That is great for detox. And you can do it on a regular basis, and you can do it, there's different line for BioRay. And it's a liquid form, so it's easy for the kids to drink it. And it really helps, again, to detox their body from heavy metals, which they are getting very frequently because mercury.
Oh, there I am. Hopefully we're back. Listen, I appreciate everybody bearing with us as we go through this. If we need to do this again, we will. This is extremely important to us. It's something we're very passionate about. Getting adjusted from a young age sets you up for success for the rest of your life. So we will continue to work on getting this information to you. If you have questions, post them on Facebook, bring them into the office. We'll let you know. Dr. Duffy, are you back with us?
I think so.
Do you want to try to wrap up? I mean, we're just having trouble today. So do you want to try to get some highlights? I can, yeah.
Sure. So if you want to put up the slide to the detox bath.
We're done with slides.
Okay. So there is a detox bath that is very helpful for children that you can do leading up to the pediatrician's visits and afterward. And I will post that later, which is with baking soda, Epsom salt, and apple cider vinegar. And then there is a great book that talks about the 4As, which is Healing the New Childhood Epidemics. And that definitely talks about exactly what we just covered today and how to really help your children from the inside out. And I will post a picture of the book later also. And it is written by a medical doctor, and it's Healing the New Childhood Epidemics. And then we have the upcoming events again. Next week, it's going to be a movement and life. So exercise tips that we will be covering. And make sure you like our page, Degnan Family Chiropractic, and then make sure you share these. We'll do this video again, so it'll be easier to share, and it'll be more of a 10 minutes versus a half an hour.
So yeah, we will get this out there again. If you have questions, please let us know. It's just something that we've got to start getting more information out to the public. We have to start educating on what health and healing actually looks like, and that you should be taking care of yourself every day, just like you brush your teeth, just like going to the gym, for your family, for your kids. We have family plans. And that's what we're here to help you guys with. So this Thursday, we'll be wrapping this up with our exercise.